Imagine sailing your ship into a literal wall of impenetrable darkness.
Just completely pitch black.
Exactly. Like not a storm, not a thick fog bank, but an actual towering void sitting right in the middle of the ocean.
Such a wild image.
Right. And so you brace yourself, you burst through to the other side, and the continent you were aiming for has somehow like shrunk to a fraction of its size.
Yeah.
And it's sitting under these bizarre neon rainbow-colored stars. Oh, and the shores are guarded by giant mechanical titans.
As one does.
Right, just a normal Tuesday. But that is exactly what happened to this simple Egyptian sailor named Osa.
It really is.
So welcome to today's deep dive. We are pulling from actual maritime logs, personal accounts, and military records from the Egyptian dynasty to map out a naval expedition that just completely broke reality.
Broke it wide open.
We are following the faithful, incredibly mind-bending voyage of Admiral Lylak into the dark lands of Senhel. So for you listening, prepare to throw your compass entirely out the window.
You're definitely not going to need it. And, to really grasp the sheer scale of the collision we're about to witness, we have to understand the machinery of the Egyptian empire that launched this fleet in the first place.
Right, because this wasn't just some ragtag group of explorers.
No, not at all. We are looking at an empire that is heavily driven by aggressive expansion, very rigid hierarchy, and just absolute pure logic.
Yeah.
But that logic had recently suffered, well, a catastrophic blow. The records actually point us to Pharaoh Atenaken's dimly lit throne room.
Setting the scene.
Exactly. And the former head of the Navy, Admiral Grax, has just been arrested for treason.
Which is a huge deal.
A massive deal. Because Grax didn't just fail at his job, right? He systematically hollowed out the fleet from the inside. He left the Egyptian naval forces operating at a staggering 35% capacity.
35%? I mean, that is a massive vulnerability when your entire imperial doctrine is based on, naval conquest.
It's an absolute disaster.
So the pharaoh needs someone who can fix this mess, right? And he summons General Lylak. Now, Lylak is this intensely ambitious career.
Very ambitious.
But his loyalty to the crown is absolute. And the sources point out this is specifically because the pharaoh used his own personal resources to heal Lylak's wife, Talara.
Right, from a terminal affliction.
Yeah, so because of that massive debt, Lylak is just promoted to admiral on the spot.
Boom! You're the admiral now.
Exactly. And his orders are monumental. The pharaoh says, go east to Port Hutzapol, rebuild the entire eastern block of the navy from the ground up, and prepare for a massive invasion of Senhel.
Which is that mysterious, dark territory far to the north.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because Lylak's situation here is fascinating. It's like he's this corporate fixer.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Right. He's brought in to clean up a massive failing department. But the dark irony is that his quote-unquote reward for fixing the fleet is being sent on an impossible, doomed mission to the edge of the world.
Yeah, it's quite the promotion. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is why it matters so much. Rebuilding a decimated fleet isn't just about, chopping down trees and building holes.
Right, there's a whole system.
Exactly. Lylak has to implement this brutal, highly efficient system of order. He institutes strict quotas, he standardizes the maritime supply chains, and he uses pure Egyptian metrics to turn a failing department into this hyper-disciplined armada.
He really is the ultimate avatar of structure here.
He is. And this is where the thematic tension of our deep dive really starts to build. Because Lylak's unyielding logic is about to be sent straight into Senhel.
Which is the total opposite of logic.
Completely. Senhel is a territory governed by magic, which the records describe as a chaotic, formless, totally incomprehensible energy.
And we actually get to see the sheer scale of Lylak's success with this fleet through the eyes of Osa.
Osa is such a great character in this.
He really is. He's a sailor stationed at the docks of Port Hutzapol. And he is a fascinating lens for this journey because honestly, he doesn't care at all about the political machinations of the empire.
Not even a little bit.
Right. He isn't interested in conquest or imperial glory. He is just a guy who finds his only real comfort on the sea.
Yeah.
The maritime logs capture this brilliant sunny morning on the bustling docks, and Osa is just hanging out, chatting with Captain Talentep, who is the director of the port.
And that conversation is so revealing. It shows this deep cultural divide within the empire.
How so?
Well, Telentep is marveling at how brilliantly Admiral Lylak has restored the fleet over the past few years. He's praising this rigid military turnaround. But then Telentep delivers this fairly ominous warning to Osa.
Right, the vagabond comment.
Yes, he explicitly notes that the pharaoh has, quote, no use for maritime vagabonds.
Ouch.
Yeah, the empire demands soldiers, not wanderers.
Yet Osa just brushes that entirely off.
Totally ignores it.
He is vibrating with excitement to set sail. He's openly promising his mates that he's going to bring back tales of alien wonders from the north.
He's just happy to be on a boat.
Exactly. But looking at Lylak's overarching situation, the irony is incredibly thick here. I mean, Lylak spends years bringing this broken, chaotic fleet into a state of masterpiece-level precision.
A literal machine.
Right. And his reward for saving the Egyptian Navy is the pharaoh ordering him to sail that beautiful machine of logic straight into an environment that aggressively defies physics.
Yeah, it's a harsh payoff. And that departure from Port Hudsipal marks the real transition from that predictable, sunny order into something deeply unnatural.
Oh, for sure.
The logs describe this very crisp morning. The cold air hits the sailors' faces, the sails finally catch the wind, and Osa is just profoundly joyous to be back on the water.
And Lylak is there, right?
Yeah, Admiral Lylak is standing stoically at the brass steering wheel, perfectly directing this massive synchronized armada up the coast, just sailing parallel to the mainland.
But then as they head north, they pass a region known as the Thulan Waters. And this is, I'd say, our first major environmental red flag.
Oh, a massive red flag.
Because the Thulan territory is cursed by an artificial eternal night.
Yeah, it's not a natural darkness.
Exactly. The source that specified this darkness is held in place by ancient magic.
It serves as this really stark environmental boundary. So they are sailing along the coast, and the natural world just begins to fracture around them.
And the visual anomaly Osa witnesses here,
Yeah.
it completely breaks the brain.
It's so trippy.
He looks out from the deck of his ship and realizes it isn't actually nighttime everywhere. If he looks further north toward the mainland, he can clearly see the clouded sun.
Right, normal daytime.
Yeah, he is looking at the daylight of quote-unquote actual time. But directly adjacent to that daylight, just protruding violently into the sky, is the pitch-black border of Senhel.
It's wild.
The logs describe it as a deleted canvas. Like, it isn't a gradual fade from day to night. It is a towering, localized wall of magical darkness, sitting literally right next to natural daylight.
I love that description. Think of a literal rendering failure in the fabric of the universe, right? Like a video game glitch.
Yes, that's exactly it. Like you're playing a game, and a massive chunk of the map simply failed to render.
Exactly. Half of Osa's vision is processing normal atmospheric light, and the other half is just a towering, absolute void.
Terrifying for a sailor.
Completely terrifying. And that visual contradiction is the territory giving them a clear warning. Senhel is entirely divorced from the physical laws of the planet.
It doesn't care about the sun.
Nope. It doesn't abide by the same sun, the same spatial geometry, or even the same flow of time. It operates on a completely alien set of rules.
But they don't turn back, though.
No, Lylak has his orders.
Right, the Armada glides right into the pitch black. And the physical shock of crossing that border is apparently immediate. The maritime logs note a sudden, severe drop in temperature, accompanied by what the sailors describe as an alkaline grip of cold wind.
Alkaline grip, such a visceral phrase.
They have officially pierced the veil at that point.
And because they are entering a zone entirely devoid of natural light, the military has to rely on their specialized units.
The Black Guard.
Yes, the Black Guard. They are essentially the Empire's elite magical tech division. So to allow the fleet to actually navigate this void, the Black Guard activates a spell called the Eye of the Commandant.
Which sounds intense. The sailors describe feeling this distinct tingle behind their pupils. Their vision flickers wildly for a moment before steadying.
Yeah, it's a physical alteration.
Right. This spell physically alters their sight, granting them enhanced vision so they can pierce through this magical gloom.
And what that altered sight reveals is just, well, it's entirely unexpected.
To say the least. Because the Egyptian maps, which were drawn from older imperial surveys, they showed Senhel as this massive, sprawling desert peninsula.
Right, a huge landmass.
But that desert is just gone. The sheer density of the magic in this region has warped reality so severely that the entire continent has shrunk.
It's unbelievable.
It is now just a fraction of its original size. We're talking measuring only a few miles in diameter.
And the composition of the land has completely transformed as well. The immense, flat desert they expected has fractured into a cluster of various shaped islands interspersed with dark water.
Just floating there.
Yeah, and the sky above them is no longer black, nor is it lit by the sun they left behind. The entire shrunken archipelago is illuminated by bizarre, neon, rainbow-colored stars shining overhead.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting because I have to challenge the physics of this transition.
Go for it.
If you take the mass of an entire sprawling continent, right, and you compress it down into a space just a few miles wide, the sheer density of that landmass should create a gravitational pull so intense it would just instantly crush those wooden Egyptian ships the second they cross the border.
Like a black hole.
Exactly. How are they even floating? How does a landmass just shrink without destroying everything around it? It's like walking through a normal-sized door but finding yourself trapped inside a snow globe.
That is the exact paradox the Egyptian navigators were facing. And under normal physical laws, you are completely correct. The gravitational density would be catastrophic.
Right.
But Merijik doesn't just bend space, it isolates it. The raw power of Senhel has essentially created a localized pocket dimension.
Wow.
The energy there is so saturated that the physical geometry of the world collapsed inward, and it completely severed its mass from the outside world's physics.
That is hard to wrap your head around.
It is. Think of it like this. Have you ever walked into a room where two people were arguing, and the emotional tension was so heavy the room physically felt smaller and kind of suffocating?
Oh, absolutely. The heavy vibe room.
Yes. Now scale that concept up to a planetary level. The territory folded in on itself under its own energetic weight, trapping the fleet inside this compressed, neon-lit bubble.
So they are literally sailing inside this fractured neon snow globe.
Exactly.
But they don't get to simply marvel at the rainbow stars, do they? Because Senhel isn't just some passive anomaly. The awe is immediately shattered by a hostile immune response from the territory itself.
Right, the Darklands react. The Egyptian fleet represents this foreign, invasive body of strict logic and order entering a closed system of chaotic energy.
Like a virus entering a body.
Exactly. And the immune system kicks in.
From the thickening darkness at the shoreline of these fractured islands, these giant robots emerge.
The Leviathans.
Yes. The terrified crew describes them in the logs as Leviathans and Titans. They just step out of the gloom and form this massive defensive line right at the edge of the water.
The intersection of ancient magic and hyper-advanced technology here is honestly terrifying.
It's such a scary picture.
It really does. The logs detail the eerie mechanical sounds of grinding gears echoing across the silent water as these titans position their massive staves.
Wow.
And then they begin projecting these heavy electronic pulses and glowing auras, signaling this highly coordinated defense mechanism.
And they don't even wait for the Egyptian ships to make move.
No time for diplomacy.
The Titans just fire deliberate warning shots. Massive strikes of high energy smash into the ocean currents directly in front of the fleet.
The power must have been deafening.
The logs say the heat from these strikes is so intense it literally vaporizes the water on impact, throwing up these huge walls of steam and effectively warding the armada away from the coastline.
So Lylak has a choice to make.
Right. Admiral Lylak is staring down an overwhelming, totally incomprehensible force. And he makes the only logical choice a rigid military commander can make in that specific scenario. He orders an immediate retreat.
Which makes sense. And the discipline Lylak instilled in the fleet at Port Hutzapol really kicks in here.
They don't just fall apart.
No, they act like a machine. The anchors are frantically pulled, the sails are shifted to catch a saving wind, and the entire Egyptian armada turns around to free south, desperately trying to escape back through that Dorsch border.
But the retreat is where the true psychological horror of Senhel reveals itself.
It gets so much worse.
Yeah. Because Osa is working the ropes on the deck, and he looks back at the continent they are sailing away from. But the terrain isn't receding.
It's just staying there.
Worse. The coastline is repeating. They're sailing at full speed, actively cutting through the water, but the world around them has been replaced by giant, towering alien plants that just keep cycling past the ships.
Like a bad dream.
Reality itself is broken. It's like a skipping record.
The geographic progression has halted entirely. They are moving, but their spatial coordinates are just locked.
Imagine driving your car down a highway, right? You're in a blind panic, you turn around to escape something, and you realize you're passing the exact same gas station every 10 seconds.
That is deeply unsettling.
You're exerting all this energy to escape, but you're getting nowhere. The terror of that realization for a sailor, I mean, someone whose entire life relies on the predictable relationship between speed, time, and distance. It's unimaginable.
It truly is, and what's fascinating here is how Senhel's magic functions as this hyper-advanced immune system.
Yeah, explain that.
Well, the territory didn't want to expend the massive energy required to physically destroy the entire fleet with the Titans.
It could have, but it didn't.
Right. It simply wanted to quarantine the infection. So, by folding the spatial coordinates of the coastline into a closed, infinite loop, the Darklands effectively locked the ships in a geographic hamster wheel.
A geographic hamster wheel, that's exactly it.
Sinhel cleanly and quietly severed the entire Egyptian navy from the rest of the pharaoh's ground invasion force. Lylak's massive, highly disciplined fleet is entirely quarantined from the war.
So what does this all mean for the crew? I mean, they are trapped in a geographic loop with absolutely no way home. How does a strictly disciplined military crew, who is trained to measure and conquer the physical world, react when they realize the map is completely broken?
Well, the initial reaction recorded in the logs is absolute mind-shattering panic.
Understandably.
We read about one sailor who just drops his ropes, sits down on the wooden floor of the deck, and goes completely catatonic.
Wow.
The sheer impossibility of the looping reality just shatters his worldview. The human mind relies on linear progression. When moving from point A to point B just leads you right back to point A, the brain simply stops functioning.
The rigid structure of the Egyptian military is entirely useless against a skipping dimension.
Completely useless.
And Admiral Lylak, the man who rebuilt this fleet through pure metrics and control, he realizes his logic cannot solve this. And we see a remarkable pivot in his leadership here.
It's a really beautiful moment.
It is. Instead of barking orders or demanding discipline, he speaks to his men with a profound vulnerability. He openly admits he cannot explain the magic. He tells them he cannot fix the map.
He just lets go.
Yeah. He urges them to stop panicking, to stop fighting the wheel. He tells them to just sit down, lie on the deck, and look up at the neon stars while they try to figure it out.
And that surrender to the infinite triggers a massive tonal shift across the entire trapped armada.
It really does.
Later in the personal accounts, we see a completely different version of Admiral Lylak. The stiff, ambitious careerist from the pharaoh's throne room is just gone.
Replaced by someone else entirely.
Yeah, he is seen sitting on the deck, leaning on one knee, actually smiling and laughing with his crewmen. The strict military hierarchy just melts away into the looping ocean.
Because rank, quotas, and imperial conquest mean absolutely nothing when you are trapped in eternity.
Exactly. The artifice of their society just falls away.
And then we see Osa, our maritime vagabond, lounging on the deck under that bizarre rainbow starlight.
Living his best life.
Literally, he's chatting and drinking with his shipmates. They are quite literally sailing into forever. And Osa comes to this profound realization. If this peaceful, eternal sailing is his new, inescapable reality, he might have actually found heaven.
It's incredible.
The psychological resilience of these sailors is astounding. You can think of it like being stranded in an airport during a massive, world-stopping blizzard.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
At first, the panic is overwhelming. You yell at the desk agents, you check your phone frantically, you try to force a solution, but eventually the realization washes over you that you have absolutely zero control over the storm.
So you just have to let go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You grab a drink, you start talking to the strangers next to you, and you accept the present moment. You accept you aren't going anywhere.
And that surrender beautifully resolves Osa's journey. Going back to his conversation with Captain Telentep on those sunny docks of Port Hutzpol, Osa never really wanted to be on land.
Never.
The dirt, the politics, the constant Egyptian demand for expansion, none of it mattered to him. He only found peace on the water.
Yeah.
The rigid imperial structure of Egyptia dissolved the exact moment it collided with the infinite. It stripped these men of their empire, their missions, and their anxieties, and it left them with nothing but the pure, unadulterated present.
What a wild trajectory to look back on. I mean, Admiral Lylak is handed a broken, hollowed-out fleet, turns it into a masterpiece of military discipline, and sails it past the eternal night of the Thulan waters.
Quite the resume.
Right. They pierce a pitch-black wall of ancient magic, enter a shrunken pocket dimension of neon stars, and get repelled by giant robotic leviathans.
It's like something out of a sci-fi novel.
And then, instead of dying in a fiery battle, they find themselves quarantined on a skipping record of a coastline, becoming cosmic castaways who just drink and laugh under alien stars.
It's wild. And if you bring this back to your own daily life, it poses a deeply challenging question for us.
Oh, I'm listening.
How often do you exhaust yourself fighting against circumstances that you absolutely cannot control? We all hit our own skipping record moments where our logic fails and the world just stops making sense.
That's so true.
Sometimes when the map is thrown out the window and you are stuck in a loop, the bravest, healthiest thing you can do is stop fighting the geography, look up at the stars, accept the reality of the present moment, and find peace in the ride.
I really love that perspective. But I'm going to leave you with one final lingering thought about this entire expedition, something we haven't really touched on yet.
Oh, what's that?
We have been looking at this looping ocean as a defensive quarantine, right?
Mm-hmm.
A trap set by Senhel to neutralize the Egyptian fleet.
Yeah, an immune response.
But what if the Darklands didn't trap Lylak's fleet to punish them? What if that sentient Midget trapped them to actually save them?
Oh, wow. Flipping the intent of the immune response completely alters the narrative.
It does, because by locking the Navy in a peaceful, infinite loop, the chaotic energy of Senhel actually spared Osa, Lylak, and thousands of sailors from the grotesque horrors and massacres that the rest of the Pharaoh's ground army was currently marching into on the mainland.
That is a profound thought.
Perhaps Senhel, in its own incomprehensible, reality-bending way, looked at a fleet of men who were forced into a war they didn't start, and just gave them exactly what they truly wanted, an endless sea.
Wow.
It makes you wonder about the impenetrable walls we hit in our own lives, and what they might actually be protecting us from. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Keep questioning the reality of your own maps, and we'll catch you next time.